influx. Newsmaker Saturday starts now.
This is going to be a busy half hour. Thanks for joining us for Newsmaker Saturday. We're going to hear from reporter Justin Lum later in the program on the guilty verdicts in the trial of the doomsday mom, Lori Vallow. But we begin with the crisis at the southern border. Tens of thousands of migrants from countries all over the world right now are entering our country. They will be processed and for the most part will be released into the interior of the country. This influx is the result of the end of Title 42, the pandemic Trump-era rule that was used as a pretext to keep people from entering the country, saying we didn't want spread of COVID. But as that has ended and that threat has ended, so has Title 42. President Biden fought it. He wanted it ended. He got his wish. In its place, the Biden administration has promised to return to enforcing something known as Title 8, the nation's immigration law. It allows legal provisions for asylum, but it institutes civil penalties for immigration violations and criminal prosecution for unlawful border crossings. Is that happening? Let's check in with our reporter, Rebekah, who's at the border in El Paso. Rebekah, great to see you. First of all, you're standing in front of a detention center, is that correct?
So behind me, John, is one of the city-run shelters. It's actually a former middle school that's no longer in use. So the city opened it up earlier this week, ready to welcome the migrants that have already been documented by Border Patrol. And here they will wait until they can reach that next destination that's been set up for them through Border Patrol.
Okay, so they have to have a plan to go next. Usually it's family somewhere else. It could be in a far-flung part of the country, right?
Yes, exactly. The vast majority of migrants here, like you mentioned, they do have family in the United States. That agencies here connect with them and they work on getting them bus tickets or flights to those family members. And others here are being sent to sanctuary cities, many of them going to Chicago and New York City.
Rebekah, I'm curious, we heard really dire predictions of how many people were going to cross the border, that it might actually be a sea of humanity crossing. To my knowledge, my take on it, that is not happening.
That's not happening quite yet, and we spoke with some Border Patrol sources here earlier, and they told us that they really think, at least in El Paso, the surge might be over. We saw those large numbers of migrant crossings earlier this week before Title 42 expired, and they think that now that Title 8 is being more strictly enforced, they do think that more people are hesitant to cross illegally, and there are going to be longer lines at the legal port of entries.
Yeah, this is the thing. People need to understand, and I think it's very confusing for all of us. If you want to seek asylum, generally it's done at ports of entry, designated ports of entry. Yuma would be one, Nogales would be one in Arizona. But these people are crossing in sections of border in between ports of entry. That's a different situation, right?
Exactly, and what we've been hearing from a lot of the migrants is that a lot of misinformation is passed along to them, especially from the cartels. They see the massive border wall, but they're being told that they can cross there, that they're allowed to cross there, which we know that's just obviously not the case. And speaking with many migrants that have been faced with this challenge over the last few weeks, one of the stories that we heard was from a family who has been trying to use the app that has been put out by the United States to have migrants go through the legal asylum process. And this family, they told us that they'd been trying to use the app for weeks to put in their application, and they couldn't get the app to work. And when they were starting to hear that Title 42 was going to be lifted, they had family members tell them, you need to get across before that happens. So they ended up crossing before Thursday night, and they're here now after illegally entering, and they just said, we tried to enter legally, but it just didn't seem like it was going to be possible for them to use that app that is being encouraged for migrants to use.
Rebekah, one of the curious things that we see along the border is people dropping their IDs and all of their identification at the border on the Mexico side before they come across. Why would people do that? What would be the reason?
Well, if they do that, and especially if they carry a change of clothes with them throughout their journey, it is very easy for them to blend in to the community if they make it across that border wall undetected. So by the border wall here in El Paso, you'll see cans of body spray, deodorants, discarded clothes, showing that people, once they got on this side, they did a quick change, and those people likely are those got-away numbers that Border Patrol tells us about, where they were able to come across undetected and probably walked into some of these nearby neighborhoods right by the border and just kind of blended in to regular society here in El Paso.
Rebekah, we know now from experience of all of these people claiming asylum, ostensibly, maybe only 15% of these people have a legitimate asylum claim. Nobody wants to really talk about it, but the lion's share of people coming across are coming across plain and simply for economic reasons. That's not a slight on them. I understand why they're doing it. We have opportunity in this country, but these are not asylum claims by and large.
That's correct, John. And, under Title 8 now, that is, supposed to be being enforced by Border Patrol, the vast majority of these people that are going to attempt to claim asylum, they're going to be deported back to their country of origin.
But that's only if we find them in the interior later on, or if they started to go through the process. They're given a court date, as I understand it, but the likelihood of a lot of these folks going through with their court date is actually fairly low.
It is fairly low, and the reality is a lot of these migrants will be here in the United States, for upwards of, possibly even upwards of 5 years, as, ICE has to go through this process of having, border hearing or asylum hearing after asylum hearing, going through all these papers. So by the time they actually get to somebody, they could have already been here in the U.S. for 5 years, and that asylum is not going to be granted.
Do we know if most of these folks have work lined up in the United States when they get here? Do they have a plan, or are they just winging it?
Very, very few people have a plan, John. I actually spoke with a gentleman earlier this week who asked me for work himself. So, you do see people that are willing to work and are wanting to work, but the vast majority of them don't have anything set up substantially.
You know how these stories affect you when you kind of at night, when you've done your reporting and you're sitting there thinking about everything you've seen throughout the day. What has left the biggest impression upon you?
I think it's tough to see firsthand how, a public safety issue in America comes face to face with a humanitarian crisis, because you do feel for the people that are, trying to have asylum for valid reasons, that are scared to live in their home country. We've heard people say that they would kill themselves if they had to return to their home country. And these are the people that are trying to seek true asylum, true refuge in the United States. And they have to go through this really stringent process because of all the bad actors that are taking advantage of what the U.S. has to offer.
Yeah, Rebekah, I'm glad you're there. You're a level-headed, really solid reporter. We appreciate you spending some time with us on Newsmaker Saturday. It's good to see you. Good luck in El Paso.
Thanks for having me, John.
You got it. Thanks. When we come back, Sheriff Mark Dannels and what he's seeing on the ground in his border region, that's Cochise County. We'll talk to Sheriff Dannels in just a moment on Newsmaker Saturday. Back on Newsmaker Saturday, first segment, we just heard from Rebekah Castor on the border in El Paso. Now let's turn to Arizona Sheriff Mark Dannels. He is Cochise County Sheriff. Good to see you. We've had you on the program many times. What's the situation in Cochise County right now, Sheriff?
Well, thanks for having me again, John. The first thing, we deal with gotaways. We don't deal with the give-ups. These are people that are wearing camouflage, that do everything they can to get away from us. They don't want to be seen by us. They don't want to be caught by us. So that's something we have addressed for over the last 2 years at historical numbers, too. The Tucson sector, which is part of Cochise County, is what we address here. Since Title 42, which over the last week or so, we started seeing an uptick. And then since Monday, the federal government, Department of Homeland Security, has been busing migrants that need to be processed to our county. So since Monday to this morning, Friday morning, we've had 1,039 that have been bused here and then released here into our community. So the federal government brings them here, but don't bust them out of here, which is causing a lot of concern with our citizens.
Yeah, I mean, I covered that area. I lived down there for 8 years in Tucson, worked down there. Cochise County doesn't have anything to handle something like that.
You're exactly right. We don't have logistical resources. We don't have a transportation hub that takes it out of Cochise County. So to bring 1,000+ people to Cochise County, process them, and then leave them here. And what I mean by leave them here is we had to step up. The state of Arizona, I met with the governor earlier in the week, we had to step up and work collectively, not just here, but Yuma all the way to Cochise County, to bring buses on behalf of the state tax dollars to bus these people to NGOs throughout the state, primarily Tucson, where they could be logistically processed into the United States, wherever they're going to go. But yeah, talk about a real kick for local law enforcement, local communities that are already up in arms on what's going to happen, and then to have that happen.
Yeah, the thing that strikes me is we're playing a bit of a shell game. You know, we're moving people down to the border. You know, I think we moved, We moved 1,500 to the border. But people think, okay, well, we're sending the military down to the border. They're going to stop this. They're simply there to welcome people in and process them. I'm not seeing any enforcement going on, really. It's just, okay, let's get these folks in and let them get on their way.
John, it's a valid point. I'm glad you bring that up. It's nice to hear that from the media, because we're absent several things. We're absent a federal plan. I do not have a federal plan from Secretary Mayorkas or DHS. We have nothing. So the unknowns are strong. I have a border operation plan that people can visit on our Sheriff's Office webpage or Facebook, and to include a Title 42 statement. But I don't have anything from the federal government. So that really creates a hole in what we're trying to do here is absent. The other thing we're absent on is public and safety and security. We don't have border security going on right now. We have immigration surge. As a result, the resources are being focused on immigration instead of national security, public safety. I'm really concerned about that. And I'll just say this to you too, because I don't want to forget to say it is, who has the better plan right now? Is it Washington, D.C., or is it the criminal cartels, the transnational organizations that are exploiting America for violence, greed, and really it's a dollar bill? We got to look at that. We have to do a better job of securing our border, John.
Where are you seeing these folks coming from? Because originally, you know, there was a lot of Central America and all of that. Now we're getting, one of our reporters, Stephanie Bennett, was down there. She told me this week, she said 80% of the people I'm talking to or trying to talk to don't speak Spanish. They're from all over the place. And she mentioned China, Russia. This is incredible.
Well, it is incredible, and I really hope America just unites on this. Put your political thoughts, your ideologies aside, because I was told that there's thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands are from other than Mexico, in Mexico right now, waiting to come across. And then, which was a smaller portion, is the Mexican citizens that want to come across. My point is this: when you're looking at 150 countries that we see on an annual basis coming into the United States through our borders illegally, that should be scary. And what's sad is we forgot 9/11. And you and I, John, we experienced it, but our younger generation wasn't even born when this happened 20 years later. We have to remember, we have to protect the homelands first and then deal with those wanting to come into the country legally.
Sheriff, is it too simplistic to say that the gotaways are criminals generally who do not want detection? Are you worried that these gotaways generally are gotaways because they don't want any paper trail, they want no process, they want to do their thing, whatever it is, here in the United States?
There's two parts of gotaways. The first part is that they're coming across our border here in the Tucson sector, Cochise County, where the cartels control that. The other aspect is, and they pay these cartels quite well. The other aspect is the criminal aspect. Those that come from countries of interest, those that have aggravated deportee status, or those that have a huge criminal record, both in the U.S. or in other countries that they can't afford just to walk across to give up illegally, because there's a good chance they will be deported and taken into custody. So yeah, it's a huge concern. I think it's 1.4 million have Godaway numbers under this current administration over the last little over 2 years, those are scary numbers. Those are probably nominal numbers too. The real numbers are probably double that. So, and that's just an opinion on my part. So what scares me on that is, at what point do we step as a country and say, we got to secure our borders? We got to get effective management control on the border, because if we don't, the risk to every American, not just Cochise County, but to every American out there, only increases, and the vulnerabilities get greater.
What's your biggest concern right now?
My biggest concern is, and I'll keep it at the level, I'm elected as a sheriff in Cochise County. My job is the quality of life of the people who live here, and making sure that they feel good to live here, they feel safe to live here, and their quality of life is embraced. My phone's been ringing off the hook this week. I've been all over this. Last couple of years, we've worked really hard to secure our county, keep people safe down here. The pursuits happen every day, the trespasses, the bailouts, you name it, we're dealing with it. So that bothers me. And the biggest concern that comes with that is the loss of life for a citizen or somebody wearing a badge in Cochise County. And then you expand that to the rest of the United States and the rest of my fellow sheriffs and police chiefs and citizens. That's a concern. Can we do a better job, John? If we say no, that's scary. We know we can do a better job than what's going on now.
Sheriff Mark Dannels, Cochise County, great to see you again. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, John. Thanks to your viewers, too.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you, Sheriff. When we come back, Justin Lum on the guilty verdict in the Lori Vallow murder trial. He was the only local reporter in the courtroom. His eyeball take on what went down when Lori Vallow was convicted. It's next on Newsmaker Saturday.